Just finished reading the last book of the Truly Devious trilogy, The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson. I already have a review of the first book. If you'd like to check, I'll link it in the description. But I thought the first book was truly average. And I listed my reasons on that video. After reading the next two books, I can say that it gets better. The first book didn't resolve any of the mysteries it created, so it had a pretty unsatisfying journey for me. The second book does present some satisfying resolutions, and the third book completely resolves everything. So in that sense, it was a satisfying read. I still think the characters weren't complex enough. Like, there is this Vi character who is basically just around and says exclamations for 3 books. Nate, as always, disenchanted. Janelle is excited and handy. David is troubled. And Stevie is your average protagonist. Although she does get a bit better than the first book, she has an interesting thing where as she gets more general life experience, she can use her experience in her deduction skills. So she finds parallels and trains of thoughts between 2 different events. I don't know if it's an intentional character trait or not, but it can work well if there are other Stevie Bell novels in the future. It feels like she has the potential to be an interesting detective when she's like 50 years old and she has tons of experience. But I like that you can feel she gets better as she gets more experience with random things and not necessarily directly related to being a detective. I also want to take a moment to talk about the covers. I didn't talk about them in my previous review. I really love the typography. I think they actually did hand lettering for these, or if they started with a font, they altered it to make it look more like actual hand lettering. I really appreciate those details. Once I designed a book, it was taking place in a school, and there were lots of images of exam papers. We hired a few people to actually fill the exam papers. It doesn't add much to the cost, but I think it adds significant authenticity and makes it much more fun instead of just using a font. It looks really great on these covers. It has this hand lettering feeling, but also it's blurred around the edges slightly, so it feels more dangerous. And the colors are so much fun. The first one is blue and orange, the second one is red and blue, and the third book is green and yellow. It looks so good. And beyond that, I feel like I read the exact book these covers were promising me, if that makes any sense. They fit so well with the tone of the books, this slightly dangerous, fun, dynamic, young, personal adventure kind of thing. There is a weird subplot where there's something related to the presidential elections, and like suddenly the fate of the world is in their hands kind of thing or whatever. I don't think that works well. I don't think there's any point to it. It doesn't really affect anything else. I actually think its only function was to make the book longer, which is my main problem with this series. I think it would have been much better as a duology. All 3 books suffer in the middle sections. If they went for a 2-book series, the first book would have had a more satisfying ending too. We wouldn't need all the random things happening like the prison subplot. The books are already short, so I think it would be reasonable to make them into 2 really fast-paced books around 100,000 words each. As it is, I stand with my previous judgment and say that this is a very fun series to read, especially if you're traveling or on vacation. The characters are very static, even the main character. This is not an expected and mystery series. I mean, Sherlock Holmes is always Sherlock Holmes. He sort of grounds you in the adventure because you know who he is. But I'd rather have stronger character development. There's some sense of gaining experience, as I mentioned before, so that's nice to have. I actually thought there was going to be one more twist at the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but what happened to the person who did it seemed too intentional. It had too many parallels to some other things that happened in the books. So I thought that person at least had an accomplice who maybe betrayed that person. If you read the book, I hope you know what I mean. But I feel like either the author thought she was going to do another twist and decided not to, because it certainly doesn't have to be. But maybe we'll get another Stevie Bell series and that will be a thing then. I mean, I'm guessing we will get another Stevie Bell series because she's probably going to be like Maureen Johnson's Nancy Drew. And honestly, I'd probably read it. The series was a lot of fun to read. I'm glad it wrapped up well. But one thing is, because the books show you events taking place in the past, most of the time you are ahead of Stevie. I'm not sure if I like that, because then you actually know who did what and just waiting for Stevie to figure it out. It takes a bit out of the fun of reading mysteries, but as I said in my review of the first book, this book doesn't really let you try to figure out things by yourself. It's not that kind of mystery. So as you get to the second and third books, it's even more obvious. And the book is like, here's what happened in 1936. Now watch Stevie figure it out. I guess there could have been a version where you read 1936 chapters after Stevie figures things out, but I'm sure they tried it and decided to go this way. Anyway, I increased my rating for the last book and gave it a 4 stars for resolving everything it promised and for providing a fun ride, really. If you are looking for a quick, fun read that's not going to cost you emotional damage, I recommend you check this book out. I would love to hear what you thought about this series in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like to let me know. And if you'd like to see more bookish content, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Goose breeze. Goose breeze. Scent. Lilac. Lilac. Goose. 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 Goose breeze. Lilac. Goose. 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 Goose breeze. Lilac. Scent. Goose breeze.